Hello everyone and welcome to Antiques Made Easy. I'm Adrian and I've been a dealer for 25 years and I want to show you how to research antiques online. Today's mystery object, an antique cream jug. So if we go to the photographs we can see that it's a jug with a handle decorated with flowers. If we look at the base, just go over to the base to see whether there's any marks, and there are no marks. So we're working from scratch. We have no signature mark or anything like that to look up. So I did a light test. I held it up to the light to see if light was shining through, and it was, so we can say it's porcelain. That's a starting point as well. So a jug, porcelain. Now, if you look at the shape of the jug, you could say it's bolt shaped. It's not a high jug. It's not a small jug. It's an elongated jug. So we can call that bolt shaped. The handle turns up slightly at the base and has got a little knob for the finger, and these things can be defining features. The handle turning up is a sign that it's early, say pre-1840. It's not always the case, but if you're already suspecting that something might be early and it has a handle that turns up, then it's pointing in that direction. So if we look at the decoration, we can see that it's coloured. So you've got pink, green, blue, and I think there might be other colours as well. And they're what are called overglaze enamels. So they're not part of the initial firing of the piece. They're fired afterwards at a lower temperature. So these enamel colours can give us an indication as well. And once again, it's about words. And the word for colour, when you're describing ceramics, is polychrome. So it's polychrome decorated. Also, if you look, you can see that the actual piece is raised in areas beneath the glaze. That's called embossed. So we have an embossed and polychrome enamel jug. And if we look at the base again, or let's look inside. When you look inside, you can see little eruptions in the glaze, and these are imperfections in the firing that are typical of 18th century ceramics. There's little inclusions, grit, or it's just the firing process. So if we flip it over again and look at the base, you can see more of it, including little inclusions of dirt in the glaze called frit. Now you can also see that, not particularly well, but the body is an off-white colour. It's not a perfect white. In fact, if you look at it in real life, it's got a greyness to it, especially where the glaze is as well. So it's not a pure white, and that's another indication that it isn't a 19th or 20th century piece that's been perfectly fired in a mass production. This is something of an earlier period. So we could recap by saying it's a bolt-shaped jug, a cream jug. That's particularly what it was used for. A bolt-shaped jug with embossed design and polychrome enamels, which is probably 18th century. So at this point, that's the path that I'm going to go down when I research online. So now we can move over to the internet and start a search based on the information that we've already acquired. So we can put polychrome for a start off, and cream jug. We could even put 18th century. Oh, leave a gap there and see what turns up. So we can have a look through the images, and you can see there are things that have some similarities. There's Worcester. So at this point, we really need to see if we can work out the date of the object without narrowing it down to a particular factory. And we do this by comparing shapes, the shape of the foot, the handle, and the overall shape of the piece. So we really need to put bolt shape. Now I say bolt shape, it's a low shape. Yeah, here we've got something 18th century. This one, Philip Christian, Liverpool. So let's have a look at that one. Well, already I'm seeing some similarities. Obviously, the base is different. The way that the piece goes in at the base, but we have polychrome flowers and embossing. Now, the shape of the handle is different. So let's just go back to our picture. There, you can see the embossing and the flowers. What I've noticed now about the flowers and leaves is that they're outlined with a darker colour, so that might come in handy as well. So if we go back, yeah, there are some similarities. This one is more squat. Well, we've got a date of 1775. So if we can find other pieces that have similarities, we might be able to narrow it down a little bit. Now this one looks interesting. If it's here, well, we've got a blue and white one there. That's embossed. And there's a distinctive handle. It goes up at the base and it has a thumb piece that goes back. There's embossing, and overall the shape is actually quite similar. So if we go back, oops, to our photos, yes, we are actually getting there. And what are they saying? They've just said 18th century. But that is actually pretty similar in many ways. So we could try searching for Penningtons. If I can get the search bar up, I don't know where that's gone. Strange things happen. So, polychrome cream jug, Pennington. Was it Pennington or Christian? Oh, one was. We'll try Pennington. And we'll put bolt shaped again. Another phrase would be low, because it's not a high jug, it's a low jug. Right, yeah, that's this one here. This is Christian, Philip Christian, Liverpool. So that might be worth looking at as well. Here, Pennington, you can see, can you see the handle is very similar. And here, I think that might be the same one. So, we're certainly, see, the thing about handles and shapes in the 18th century is that they lasted for a certain period, and then they were replaced by other designs. And also these designs could vary from one factory to another. So things like the shape of a handle, the shape of a piece, actually do narrow down the possibilities. So if we look at this one here, it's blue and white, but there are some similarities. Oh, these things are a nuisance. No, we'll forget that one. So yeah, it looks as if we've hit on something. Christian or Pennington of Liverpool. But we've certainly got a possible date. Is this one I've just looked at? No, it isn't. No. So there. Liverpool porcelain, Pennington Soul Sport. That's a Soul Sport. See, one thing I didn't do is measure as well, because I should have included that in the beginning. The size of the piece matters. That one is 4.7 inches high and 6 long, so that's quite a big, so 6.6 inches is quite a big piece. And I know that this one is smaller, ours is smaller. So there's some little details there. John and Jane Pennington, 1770 to 1790, the exotic bird pattern. So let's look at the similarities. There's a handle with a back-facing thumb piece and a turned up base. There's embossing. It's a similar shape and it's footed. So we're getting nearer. Well, one thing that we can say at this point is that the date is around 1770 to 1790. So we've got to think again about words. I've put bolt shaped. It's possible to use other words like ewer or silver shaped, because the shape is taken from silver. And this is showing similar things. I'm drawn towards Pennington. Pennington or Christian. It would help if we could just find the same piece. So if we go back, instead of Pennington, I can put Christian. Liverpool. And see, there's only a finite number of pieces out on the market. To compare. Yes, it's embossed. It's the similar sort of handle. Again, slightly different, the handle. Let's have a look. Yeah, but there are all the hallmarks of it being a Liverpool piece. So what I want to do is to move outwards into details about the Liverpool factories, because this seems to be a valid direction to move in. I think we've established that the piece is 1770 to 1790 British, and probably one of the Liverpool manufacturers. So what I will do is continue later, after having gone into those factories in more detail in a word search. So I've looked around for Liverpool porcelain, and I found an excellent resource online. And this is the point of researching online, is to find resources. There are people who research and put a lot of effort into making things free to look at, so we can use them, but also say thank you to them. And this is scottishantiques.com, and they give an excellent write-up on the makers in Liverpool in the 18th century. Chaffers, Philip Christian, and the Pennington brothers, Seth, James and John. And they also sell, and lo and behold, here are 3 polychrome pieces that are pretty similar, all by similar to our piece, all by Philip Christian, and dated between 1765 and 1775. And the most interesting is the first one. So if I click on that, you can see, if we return to our own picture here, polychrome rose with a dark outline, as I mentioned earlier, and the green and the pink. If we go back, that's very similar. Also, the handle, if we look at the handle, it comes up slightly at the base, and there's a thumb piece that goes back, and the embossing, and there's a foot that's raised. So this is a very good match to the point that I would say I'm 90% certain that our cream jug, they've said Soul Sport here for this one. It's difficult to know the use of pieces. 12 centimeters in length would be what, 5 inches? 5 inches, yeah. Well, they're definitely saying a Soul Sport, and if you look at the categories that they've got, 1765 to 70, so I think we can say circa 1770 for our piece. No marks, polychrome, floral sprays, another very good descriptive term that helps with searches. Floral sprays, or sprigs sometimes, another way of saying it. A moulded pedestal Soul Sport with silver moulding to the foot and fluting with flowers to the body. Yeah, the silver elements again, silver shape. Excellent condition, minor flake in the glaze on the internal rim. So now we can look at values. This one's available for £235. If we go back to the others, this one's quite similar as well. £235 again. The one in the middle is slightly more squat, raised. This one in the middle I would describe as a ewer shape. So my best guess for our piece, if we go back to it, with plenty of evidence, is that it's probably the same manufacturer and the same period. Philip Christian, Liverpool, circa 1765, maybe a little bit later than that. Well, a price of 235 seems a reasonable retail price. In auction, possibly 100 to 150, bearing in mind that there's a buyer's commission to pay on top as well. So that is a wrap. Basically, if we go back, we can see what we've learnt. It's a polychrome enamel sauce or cream jug. It's very difficult to distinguish between them. Christian, circa Liverpool, circa 1765, 1770, with moulded details on the body, a raised foot. I think that just about describes it, and we can say we've done it. If you enjoyed this video, I'll be making more of them in the future. I've already got 2 other videos on YouTube on how to research antiques online. I've got a presence on Patreon. My name's Adrian Parker on Patreon, and a Facebook group, Antiques and Collectibles Wanted UK, if you want to go and join that or take a look. And I'll catch you again in the future.